hopefully this isn't your first time, but if it is, welcome. My name is Celia Milton. I am the owner of NJ Vows Now. We're wedding officiants in North Jersey, and I'm here with my partner in wedding crime, Andrea Pertel, the owner and mastermind of For This Joyous Occasion. She is also a professional wedding officiant who covers Central Jersey and South Jersey. So wherever you are in New Jersey, we have you covered. We can find you and help you, so don't worry about that. How are
Oh,
you doing today, Andrea?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Anything exciting going on that we're going
Um,
to talk about some exciting stuff, but maybe
yeah,
there's some,
I like our subject today because
yeah,
it's
I do
very
too.
upbeat. And no, I had some elopements this week. The Monday was a holiday, was President's Day, so a lot of people were off of work or their kids were out of school, so they had to take off of
That's
work.
right.
Um, so they used that opportunity to have elopements. So I had a couple of elopements. And
Cool.
then I have another elopement coming up this weekend, and then a bigger wedding on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to those. You know, it's kind of a slower time, but there's still stuff every
Yeah, it's
weekend. So
cranking
it's
along.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have
It's a
a,
lot of talking to couples planning their weddings
yeah,
because they just got engaged on Valentine's Day.
it's true. It's true.
Engagement.
I have a vow renewal tomorrow for a couple that I married 10 years ago, but they're both in the wedding industry as well. And the bride called me to schedule like a surprise little ceremony for them. I know it's not our anniversary yet, but we can't do it in June because we're so crazy in June. It's going to be like, you scheduled what? So we're going to do their little vow renewal tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. And then I have a wedding. I have a wedding up at Black Bear, which is part of the Crystal Springs group, up in
Oh,
Vernon.
that's nice. Yeah,
It's going to
that's
be
very nice.
beautiful. I'm so excited, and I love these people. They're just so sweet. I love them.
Yeah, it's a great,
Yeah,
joyful job, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. It is. But we started to talk about um there is a trend that we're both seeing, and we're not big trend people, but when things start popping up over and over and over again, I think it's worth talking about. And one of them is kind of a movement towards smaller weddings in general. And we're hearing this from a lot of the venues that we're talking to now, and if you listen to some of the venue broadcasts, which are wonderful, by the way, everybody's sort of noticing that there are, less people coming to weddings. And part of it is because they're expensive, and it's expensive for guests too. But along with that, you might want to think about having a smaller wedding party or no formal wedding party at all. Is this something, Andre, are you seeing this too? Because
I'm
I'm seeing
seeing
it a
it,
lot.
and not even just with smaller weddings, because yes, smaller weddings, and even to me, they sound large, like 75 people or
Yeah, that's
anything
still
under
large.
100
That's a lot
is
of people.
considered smaller weddings. But
Yeah.
I just recently did a larger wedding at Shadowbrook in Shrewsbury.
Mm,
So they had a lot of guests there, but they chose not to have a wedding party
mm.
because, well, wedding parties, not only is it budget friendly, so maybe it leaves you room to have more guests, but it's
Yeah, that's
also
true.
less stressful to have a wedding party. So I'm seeing smaller wedding parties, or maybe just a maid of honor and just a
Yeah,
best man,
yeah,
just two people. And that really cuts back on your budget because there's a lot going on with the wedding party. Um, and it's less stressful. And but there are still, when you don't have a wedding party or a smaller gathering, ways to include your favorite people, because people say, well, how will we include them without a wedding party?
yeah.
And there's so many great ways to include them.
You know,
I
it's
mean,
interesting because I feel like it's kind of evolved from having wedding parties, but not having them stand up, which I saw over the summer
yes,
quite a
I've
bit.
seen quite a bit of that.
With,
Yeah.
or just maybe the maid of honor and the best man. And, sometimes it's just logistical. I'm thinking of a couple of places that the ceremony space really isn't that big.
Yeah.
And, if we have 20 people standing up there, then some of us are going to be falling over the cliff in the back.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think of that. There's a beautiful location in Manahock, and it's a boathouse, and it's a recreation of a boathouse,
Oh,
and it's got
nice.
water on either side. And because of what it is, there's not enough room for the wedding for a
Yeah.
large wedding party up there.
Yeah.
So you either have a smaller wedding party or you have them sit in the second row behind family.
Yeah. It's just the whole wedding party thing. It's I think it's a lot more than people really think when they're like, "Oh, we're getting married. Let's have, five people on each side or eight people on each side." There are a lot of, besides the stress of just trying to like wrangle all these people for once you get over, for me, three, four people. And I'm not a big fan of rehearsals because I feel like the night before your wedding, it would be much more relaxing and more productive for the next day to just have a relaxed evening. Maybe you have some people, you do something really casual than having an actual other formal event that you have to have on your schedule. But
Yeah,
once you start getting into these big bridal parties, you need to have a rehearsal. You need to get them all presents. You
yep,
need to have if you have a rehearsal, you need to have a rehearsal dinner, and they're all going to bring their significant others. And then you have parents, you might have
right,
your officiant, you have your coordinator. Now, you could be looking at a 40 to 50 to 60 person party the night
right.
before your big party the next day. Who needs that?
And not only do you have to get them each a gift, you have to get them a
A
bouquet or a
bouquet, a boutonniere.
boutonniere. Yeah. And then there's all those things that you have to wonder about or make the big decisions. Who's going to pay for the hair and makeup?
Right,
The
right.
the bride or the wedding party, the
Yeah,
bridesmaids.
yeah,
All of those, the dresses, the tux. You have to make those decisions, and you either have to chip in or ask them to put out this money. And it's a lot to ask of
yeah,
people. Sometimes don't feel comfortable doing that. It's a big
yeah,
decision. So
yeah.
there, I will say that some people say, well, if we're not going to have a wedding party, okay, because there is another trend with at the reception when the bride and groom come in,
Uh,
to the reception, the wedding party's not entering with them. They're already with
right.
the guests. So this wedding party entering, that is a new trend, not having them. So you have to worry about that. But who will hold the rings and who will hold the bouquet if we don't have it? Well, there's two options. You could assign somebody in the front row to hold the bouquet, or
Right.
somebody in the front row to have the rings and bring them up. If you don't want to give that job out because maybe there's too many people to choose from, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, well, then I just have the venue put a small table up by me, and we'll put the rings on that table and the bouquet on that table, and
Yeah,
I'll
that's fine.
handle that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Or you pick have your moms do it. I had a wedding.
It's a
This is the
great way to include
I
your
love
favorite
having the moms.
people. Yes.
I did a wedding a couple of summers ago at Ohika Castle, which is a big, big formal wedding destination. I'm not sure that it's still doing weddings, but it's up in Westchester. It's huge and fancy, and you expect every formal thing that you would possibly pick to be going on. Uh, the groom's family was German, the bride's family was Chinese. And we had the mothers bring the rings up and they did a little blessing, like really little, like two sentences in their native languages before they handed their rings to their child. And it was
How
so moving. I
special.
loved it.
In
I
their
loved
native
it.
land. That's so special. Well, I'll tell you real quick because you think about, well, if we're not including them in, walking down the aisle or as a wedding party, um, you're still including, your parents walking down the
Right,
aisle and
right.
maybe your grandparents, depending. But this one that I did at Shadowbrook, where they didn't have a wedding party, they wanted though to include their guests. They wanted it to be very much, you are our witnesses to this event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a sacred event, and they wanted everybody to feel part of it. So after the opening greeting, and I read a poem, a reading as well, right as part of the greeting. The couple did a quick savor the moment where I talk about how your wedding day is one that seems to fly, and people remember
Hmm.
how fleeting their own wedding day was. So I
Yeah.
invite them to face their family and friends. So now they have a quick interaction with their family and friends where they turn around, they look at them, and they smile at them. And I tell them to take it all in, take in their smiles and their love, feel the joy and encouragement. And then that moment, that's also when I address the guests and say, the couple would like to thank them, the family and friends, for honoring them with their presence today,
Hmm.
and some other beautiful wording about surrounding them with your love. And then also at that time, this couple very much wanted like a group vow, and I talk about um, how every single person there is important to the couple, and when will continue to be past this day. And and you're not only here to witness this, but you're a part of their lives. It was some beautiful wording, and how they are the people that they love and trust and hold dearest. And then I asked them, as witness to their marriage, will you support them during tough times and celebrate them in happy times and surround them with your love? And it's really a moment of realizing why you were there to witness the ceremony. And then I say, if so, please say we will. And they say we will. And then you go on with the ceremony. But it was a beautiful moment. And then later on in the ceremony, they had a ring warming, and we've
Oh, I
talked
love
about the
those.
ring warmings before.
Yeah.
Don't you just
Yeah.
love them? Yeah.
I love 'em. I do. And if there's still a thought on the couple's part about, well, we have these 10 special, like really special people, our sorority friends or best friends, or you can do a ring warming with just the people who would be in your wedding party and your immediate
That's what
family.
these
Yeah.
people did. They did just the first two
Yeah.
rows,
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
I invited everybody else to silently say their blessings.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had the DJ play some soft music during this time. And everybody was very much touched by all of these elements, and everybody felt included.
Hmm. I like it.
And
And
yet nothing took away from the couple.
yeah. Well,
That's important.
I feel like I've had that discussion with couples that say that too. It's like, we just don't, it's not like everyday life is not about us. This is like maybe for most couples, it's like the one or two out of two or three times that it is really all about them.
Yeah.
And, obviously you have a group there, you've got family and friends and they're part of the experience, but there should be, I think, a little part of it that is really all about the couple.
Right.
They might have, I did one where I'm trying to think where I was. I think I was at the Chart House where they had their brothers and sisters and, their significant others. There wasn't a lot of them. There was maybe, I think, 10 altogether, and their parents just like walk down the aisles, like the family entrance instead of,
I
having some
love
people.
that.
It was so great. And,
Yeah. The
they didn't
family
have
of
to,
the groom or the family of the
yeah,
bride next, or, whatever the couple, the two brides, two grooms, have them, the family enter. That is quite beautiful.
just kind of,
It's a
wandered in. It was sweet. And,
that they say that's a
yeah,
way of them showing their blessing
their
and
support.
support
I know.
without saying it out loud. They enter and come in, I beautiful.
I thought it was great. And the really funny thing that reminded me of is I did a wedding. I was at the Stone House a few years ago, and they had a wedding party, and they didn't have them stand, but they didn't also have them be announced into the room. It's like, here is Joan and Sally. And so they didn't do that. They just they had them all. It was an insane band. It's called 45 Arrows. They're so crazy and insane and fun.
Hmm.
And they started playing, and the whole entire wedding party, quote unquote, because they didn't stand with them, but like their, very close friends and some little kids and their parents, they all ran into the room like they were the Giants entering the Super Bowl. And it was hilarious. And they all just like spilled out onto the dance floor and everybody started to dance. And then the whole room, I have never seen a whole room dancing before they even did the toast. It
I
was
love it. I
it was
love it.
absolutely fabulous.
What a
But
great energy, right? What a
yeah,
way to
it
get the
is.
energy
It's all about that
started.
energy. Yeah. But
So,
you could have your friends and family, close ones that you might have thought, in a way, it's really kind of a gift to not make them an official person of an official bridal party because it's expensive to be in a wedding party. But they can do a lot of things. They could welcome people when people come in. They can,
yes.
we used to have formal ushers, but I haven't seen that in
I know, but I like that.
years.
You
I
because
kind of
it
do.
helps people find their seat. It helps it get started instead of them wandering around
What are
where
we
we
doing
go.
here? What's
Have
the
a
bride's
couple,
side?
have
Yeah.
your brothers or your friends up there helping people find their seat,
Yeah, it's
ushering.
funny.
Yeah.
It's funny though because I did a wedding for two women a couple weeks ago, and they just the guests just had like no idea what to do. It's like,
Yeah,
which is the
people.
bride's side? It's like it's all the bride's side.
And people don't do sides anymore, but this
No, they
way
really don't.
ushers can help even it out, which looks nice for photos. But
Right, for
yeah,
pictures.
I think it's very nice to have somebody welcome you and show
Yeah,
you
I do
to your
too.
seat or just welcome you. Yeah, I
I do
like that
too.
a lot.
I
And you
like
can
that.
also, the obvious is if you have a special friend, a special sibling that you really wanted to include,
Hmm.
a nice, easy way to include them if they're into it is to have them come up and do a reading,
A reading. Yeah.
right? Or the ceremonies.
Right, right. You might have like even, with the hand fastings, it's
Mhm.
more graceful for me, it's more graceful to have somebody else or two other people draping those cords rather than me with a book and a microphone and now I got cords and I got all kinds of stuff to do. It's just like, it's just better. And there are a lot of ethnic rituals. The first one that always comes to mind is the Filipino, the cords and the veils. Now, in a traditional Filipino wedding, they're going to have designated sponsors, which
Right.
kind of it's like the bridal party. But if you've got maybe you're going to have a wine pour. I've done a lot of things with wine where I've had a Kiddush cup and maybe have the father or one of the parents from the Jewish side of the couple come up and do that traditional blessing. It's really very sweet. There's a lot of ritual elements that just by nature could include other people, and I think that's really kind of
I
fun.
love having the moms. You mentioned the
Yeah,
moms with the
love the
bouquet and
moms.
the rings, but I love having the moms start a unity candle ceremony.
I do too.
And I talk about how it's two families coming together as one, and
Yeah.
also as a way to praise the moms before they come up, talk about how you know, their
Yeah.
sacrifice of love and raising their children, and they get to come and start the unity candle ceremony.
I've had moms hold the broom for the broom jump at the end, and
Yeah, place the. I have always, like you said, with the Kiddush cup, I always have someone from the Jewish side of the family place the glass for breaking.
yeah. Oh, I love that too.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So there's a lot of jobs that you can give people if you feel you want to recognize them without having to spend a lot of money or asking them to spend a lot of money,
Right.
um, and without having that big formal, wedding party. Because some people are like, where does it begin and end? What friends do
Yeah.
I invite? What
I
college
know. I know.
classmates? Where does it end?
Yeah.
So
It's true. And and when you really think about it, that notion of having everybody kind of dressed all alike standing there, like I'm seeing that sort of fade because when you really think about it, for a lot of our venues, I mean, we've been talking to farms and like the Pleasantly Divine Stables and all these places that it just really seems kind of strange to have people all dressed alike standing there, you know? Like,
yeah, those types of pictures might have gone out of style a bit.
yeah,
It's funny you speak about photos if it's also budget friendly because now you're not you're not having all of those photos with all the wedding party, all that you've cut back on that.
I think it really comes down to, what a lot of these decisions come down to is style. And, does this
Make it
make
our
sense to
style.
you?
Yeah.
Look at other people's pictures. Does that scenario make sense to you? Maybe it does.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe, I
maybe
mean,
that's what you wanted, the whole
maybe the,
tradition, but it's
yeah,
important to realize, to remember these aren't rules. They're
right,
traditions. You make your own. It's your wedding. It can be whatever your vision is.
right, right. I remember like years ago, a wedding that I did. I was up back when I could actually do a destination wedding and be gone for 3 days at a time. I did a wedding up in Saratoga Springs, and it was beautiful. It was in a big giant B&B, And they, they had a few people on each side, but they didn't need a rehearsal. And most people, if you're in a venue that does a lot of weddings or you have a coordinator that's really good, you really kind of don't need a rehearsal. They did a party in an upscale pool hall for the night before, and they had a video of the kid, the two of them growing up, and it was just really casual. It wasn't this like, kind of Woodstockian, 3 day thing of orchestrated stuff going on. I mean, for some people, I think that's what they really always imagined their wedding day to be. But for other people, that is a terrifying thought.
I particularly like what I like this trend of less in the wedding party.
Yeah, I imagine too.
But even if you do have a wedding party, I do like the trend of not having them come out um
Yeah.
to the reception before the bride and groom. That is, they're already with the guests. I don't know why I like it to just be the couple's moment, the
Yeah.
newlyweds moment.
Well,
Um
yeah, I think these are really, these are good talking points to have with people like your photographer, like a good photographer, a really good DJ or, DJ slash band hybrid thing. It's like, we're thinking about this and we're at this location. Do you think that this would work? And, for anybody who's done a lot of weddings, they've seen a lot of things and, we're happy to weigh in on like, is this going to seem if you have 300 people at a very fancy venue, is this way of getting your bridal party parents guess of is this logical? Are people in that audience gonna like at some point the style choices you make I think really sort of have to go together. You know what I mean?
yeah. You know what? Another thing too, let's say you have a bridal party or wedding party of
Yeah.
10 on each side, right? You got 10 on each side or even 6 on each side. Okay, so there's always that one person. That's
Yes.
that one person that's
Yes.
late and it's going to throw
Yes.
everybody off.
Yep.
You don't have to stress. Is Susie is late everywhere she goes. We are all in hair and makeup. Where is she? She's going to
Yep.
throw off our pictures. We're going to and in this timeline when it's thrown off can cost the couple more money.
Yeah,
People
it's
aren't
true.
going to stay an extra hour or two. That this is work for them. This is
Yes.
the hair and makeup's work. It's the photographer's work. It's everybody's work. There, it's going to cost you.
Things at the beginning that start going weird like that, I think it really elevates your stress level.
Yeah.
It's that's why we talk over the course of our conversations here and things to come. It's like if your shuttle is late, if your makeup artist is late, if your photographer is late, these are people who are late at the beginning of the day and the whole day goes crazy. And then the couple is now they're apprehensive. They were, approaching this day, and a lot of our venues are having people get ready there, which I think is
I love that.
tremendous.
I
Oh, we
love that
love that.
they're
It's like
doing
you don't
that
have
now.
to
They're
schlep your
creating
sorry
space
self in a
and
limo.
rooms
It's
for
great.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. But the things that can alleviate anything, for my money, anything that can alleviate stress for the couple who's planning this and is not nobody is going to leave your wedding thinking, God, they only had like two people and they didn't stand there.
They're gonna say,
It's
was it
like,
ever
where was
worth
the
it?
bridal party? Nobody cares. So do what you want, you know?
Right, right. It's your day. All
And
right.
there's plenty of ways to make, if you, I mean, I don't 10 people on each side. I don't even think in my entire life I like 20 people. I mean, that's a real, I have to get a pencil out and figure that out. But if you really want to tell some people in your life, whether they're your siblings or, your closest friend from grade school, it's like there are ways to single people out and make them feel special. That,
I love doing that at the beginning of the ceremony. If they have chosen not to have a wedding party, yet they have a big family, to thank all the guests for joining them on this special day, for making the trip out, and then pausing and saying a special thank you to the parents and the
yeah,
siblings. You guys, the
yeah.
siblings and the friends and there's a way I think it's beautiful to incorporate it at the beginning of the ceremony when you're let's say a special something to your siblings, and especially your parents.
Yeah, it kind of almost borders on a toast from the couple
Yeah.
to the guests, only they don't have to personally do it.
Yeah.
I think, the kind of like message that and I think we send this message a lot is that there are ways to incorporate tradition into your wedding without feeling like you have absolutely just sold your own soul down the river. You know? You can have the two friends that have been there, they're 3 o'clock in the morning, we're stuck on the parkway, we're coming, we'll be there in 5 minutes. Those people, and another thought too, when I had this conversation with one of my couples that I'm marrying next month, it's like sometimes you can do a gigantic, fabulous, singular thank you in private. It does not, you're acknowledging the relationships that have made your life so rich and fabulous, and you couldn't imagine your life without these people. It doesn't mean you need to make them get dressed up and walk down the aisle and hold a bouquet for 40 minutes. There's a lot of ways to make people realize just how singularly special they are to you without doing that to them. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think they do say that there's a lot of they're doing away with a lot of toasts, and so if you
oh
haven't
yeah.
had a wedding party, what has become even a bigger trend is for the couple to stand up and give a special thank you. And if there are special people that they want to acknowledge, like their friends that introduce them, or
Mhm.
their friends that help them pick out their wedding dress or plan or been there for
Mhm.
them. They make a short, because it's their it's their
Yeah,
reception, a
yeah,
short, beautiful thank you in front of everyone. And of course, they always include their parents.
of
So
course. Well, and I think it kind of it's kind of obvious, but I'm Captain Obvious. We can mention these people in the ceremony. If you don't want to have everybody in your sorority standing with you, well, maybe we want to include specific people in the narrative that we're writing for the ceremony.
Mhm.
Joe and Sally, who have been friends for years and had that thought. It's like, wait a second, these people would love each other. It's like, let's put Joe and Sally in the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, why not? There's a lot of ways to do it without making them get all dressed
Yeah,
up and
and I
stand there.
think just as we're talking to our couples, I just want to tell couples, just be sure and say, if you have any, like,
Yeah,
oh, we're not having a wedding party, but we want to figure out a way to thank people or make them feel special during the ceremony. Oh,
yeah.
great. We're going to send you lots of
A lot of
examples.
ways to do that. And you know what?
Pick
It's
what
going to
feels
make that
special
day
to you.
more relaxing. It's
Yeah.
going to be more
They make
relaxing
it
for
be your
everybody.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's everybody's day, but it doesn't have to be stressful.
Yeah.
I like it.
So do I.
Cool. And you can call us and we'll talk you down. We'll we're
Thank
like
you
all
guys for joining us today.
yes.
And we want to hear from you. Tell us if you chose not to have a wedding party or just having
What
one
did you
person on
do?
either side. What did you do? Did you do anything to include other people and make your favorite people feel included in your
Yeah.
ceremony and in your day some way? Go ahead and contact us. We want to hear your advice, your experiences, or if you have any questions, don't worry. We never share your name or email. We just want to hear your experiences and your advice.
Yeah. So just like reach out to us and let us know.
All right. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by New Jersey wedding officiant Andrea Pertel, owner of For This Joyous Occasion Officiating Services.
And Celia Milton, owner of NJ Vows Now, also New Jersey wedding officiating services. We're up in North Jersey and Andrea is down in Central and South Jersey. So together we cover the whole state, don't we?
Yes, yes.